Today we've got a guest, and he's going to be interviewed by one of your student colleagues. So I think this is going to be really great. I'll introduce her first. Tristan Sanders is going to be the interviewer. Yeah. She's your Grammy U rep and a senior, right? You're a senior, right, Tristan? Yes. And she has cool hats. And she's very excited about this. I think it's going to be super cool. And she's going to be interviewing Dan Helfers, who works with Winter Circle, and he's managed some artists. He does some social media stuff for g-eazy. I guess not some social media stuff. He's like the social media manager for g-eazy. Dan's a graduate of this program. He went here. Did you graduate? Yes, Dan actually graduated, which is cool. Good for him. And they're gonna talk about all sorts of interesting things in ways that relate to us. Please welcome Tristan and Dan.
Did you graduate? Also, to anybody that has been stressing out about doing the quizzes, I'm giving this interview and will probably still forget to do the form quiz. So that's all I'm saying. Anyway, as Jeff lovingly said, this is Dan. Oh, is it on?
Hello, hey everyone.
Kind of a little bit of a backstory. The first time that I met Dan was my freshman year, and he was managing an artist, James Quick, and he actually booked me for my first show at Loyola. So that has been the start of a beautiful relationship.
Going way back. Yep, I feel old.
So much has changed. So first, what I would like to start talking to you about is what do you do? What have you done?
Well, my name's Dan Helfers, as Tristan said. I am a talent buyer for Winter Circle Productions. We own and operate the Joy Theater. We do the booking for Republic. We own Buku Festival and produce that. We produce Hangout Festival as of this year. I personally do the booking for Republic. I handle most of what I would call the day-to-day booking for Joy Theater. I assist in the booking for the festivals. I work for, and then aside from Winter Circle, I work for the Revels Group, which is g-eazy's management company. So I do digital marketing and consulting and a couple other little things for them. And then manage James Quick, who's a Loyola dropout singer-songwriter.
He did not graduate.
No, he did not. But James lives out in LA now, and he's doing his thing. And then various other little projects keep me busy.
Yeah, really seems like you have a lot of free time. Just a couple small things that you do. Nobody's heard of g-eazy here actually either. You might have to tell a little bit about who he is. So that is great. What I wanted to ask you, since you did go to Loyola and you used to sit in this audience, when you were here and you were in the music business program, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. When you were here, what were you doing to get to where you are now?
When I first came to Loyola, I'm from St. Louis originally, and I used to book punk rock and emo shows when I was in high school at a little tiny club in downtown St. Louis called the Creepy Crawl.
I
It was
didn't
like
even know this.
totally random getting started doing that, and it was kind of like, it was funny, it was an awesome experience to get in high school, but I knew I wanted to do a music industry studies program. So I ended up here and kind of just started booking shows while I was here. Who are the people that are producing the Willow Halloween party? Shout out you guys. I thought your announcement was really great. So I always have like a lot of love for the independent promoters doing their little shows and shit. I see you guys like dapping up there. So yeah, I was just booking shows independently at like the Howlin' Wolf and this little place called Cypress Hall, which is a now demolished all ages venue out in Metairie. I was doing like anything I could. I was a photographer. I worked for the school newspaper. I was like handing out flyers. I was just like doing everything I could basically, but mainly was spending my time on booking like, little independent shows, local shows, touring rock shows that came through, like the occasional like hip hop artist or like cover band or things like that. Slowly started doing, actually not slowly, 10 years ago this week, I did my first EDM show ever. Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, I know, it's kind of funny. I was just thinking about that. I started throwing a college-oriented EDM party called Electronic Takeover. It was mostly like house music, and this was right, I guess, it's funny because for me, it's just my college experience is so like ingrained with the idea that, like EDM was like on the rise, and for you guys 10 years later, it's like, that's been a part of your life. Like EDM has been a huge mainstream thing since you guys were in like middle school. But at the time in New Orleans, it was kind of the first EDM party here, and for me and a lot of people involved, it was really like a launching pad in a lot of ways.
We're gonna bring this back. This is a great idea. I'm gonna no.
In too deep.
Don't apologize. Don't apologize ever. By the way, I think that's a terrible thing. Anyway, I wanna bring it back. I wanna host the show again. It's a 10-year anniversary. We should just go back into it.
My business partner my former business partner, who is now a booking agent at Paradigm, booking EDM artists, which is awesome, is getting married at the end of the year in December, and the whole crew is going to be back. So I think the 10-year anniversary is going to happen for New Year's this year.
Wow. Okay. Keep your eye out. That really threw me off. I had so many questions beforehand. So that's great. So then when you ended up graduating Loyola, in like your senior year, what did that look like for you? How were you, like, what was your launching pad into like the professional world?
I think for a lot of people at the beginning of senior year, there was like a lot of immediacy. I think a lot of people do their internship or like do their other little like, jobs and stuff, as they're told, and like hustling a little bit here and there, but maybe by the beginning of senior year, like you don't really quite have a plan in place. You're like, I'd love to go out and get a job, but in the music industry, you can't just give somebody, your resume. So I think at the beginning of senior year for me, it was kind of like I wouldn't call it a panic because I think I'd been really, making the most of my 4 years here, but it was definitely like, okay, it's crunch time. I need to start thinking about I'm going to pay my own bills. Am I going to try and do this independently somehow? Am I going to try and, go spend 6 months in LA and figure out if that's the place where I need to be? Fortunately, that EDM party that I started, it did well for a year or two and kind of fizzled out, but I was kind of able to transition out of that into a job locally. But I had a bunch of there's I'm not really a religious person, but there's a quote that I love, and they say, how to make God laugh, tell him you have plans. And that's like, looking back on it, that's the biggest takeaway, is that I had all these plans in place. How I was gonna like build this whole little strategic thing, and like it's good to have plans. It keeps you motivated. But yeah, beginning of senior year versus now, like how I think back on how I would have approached it, maybe a little different.
But I was just short question. Where did you have that EDM show?
The first one we ever did was at Cafe Britannia, which is now called, I don't know if you guys know. It's on Britannia. It's across the street from the hospital. Britannia Bar.
There we go.
Yeah. So we did our first one at Britannia Bar for like 50 people.
Okay, so then to continue on into your senior story, so then what happens from there?
With the party?
No, not with the party, but with your career. So beginning of senior year, you felt this way.
Well, a couple kind of different things happened all at the same time. The partner who's getting married moved to New York, and he got a job with Paradigm Agency as an assistant, where he still is, like 10 years later. Max Braun, he books Disclosure, Rex Orange County, a bunch of like the Dirty Bird DJs, a handful of other pretty cool people. So Max left. I kept the party going for a little bit, but I think we kind of saw the writing on the wall that it wasn't going to really continue, that we were like out of the college scene. Right at the same time, there was a club that used to be here called Ampersand, and they kind of wanted it to be involved more deeply in our party. And we essentially made a deal that was like, we'll bring the party in-house to your club. They hired me full-time to do their booking. Max had already transitioned to the booking agency, and our DJ moved to Berlin to become a techno producer, where he still is. That's what he's doing. So it kind of sort of like transitioned into different situations for all of us. And And then like on the whole separate side, g-eazy was at Loyola. He was a year or two younger than me. And I was living with his manager at the time, and G and Matt and all those guys were like, going on tour and building. So it was kind of like, even though I think back then I thought of things in terms of like, what's just like my job gonna be, I was also thinking about like what my people in my network were doing and how I can keep building those relationships. And so yeah, by the time like right when I graduated, I fell into a job, but there's still like just a ton of like stuff going on. It wasn't like I just fell into my long-term career.
One of the things that you said that I wanted to comment on was, as everybody here knows, and what I say, if you've ever heard me give a Grammy U conversation, it's all about networking and who you know and who you surround yourself by, and this, especially in this industry. So I think that that's really interesting how you just pretty much grew with, especially the G's team. And I've heard so many stories about this from you and also from like Mike Twillman and Casinos, all of them. And I love that story, but I think it's so true about how we go to this college, yes, to go to classes and learn about the music industry, but mainly what I've realized that I'm paying for is a whole networking opportunity. And it's been my whole 4 years of college. That's why we're here.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. There's intro to music industry studies, like some of the economics classes I took were hugely important, learning how to use like Excel. I use this on a day-to-day basis, but yeah, the people and the connections that I made here were pretty incredibly valuable. And on the flip side, I think there's a lot of people here like in this room who don't realize how valuable this opportunity is, whether you're putting yourself through school or whether like your parents are helping you. It doesn't matter like what reason you're here or why. Somehow you've been fortunate enough to like end up in this room around like 250 other people who are motivated to make a career in what I consider to be like one of the most challenging industries out there. I wouldn't have been able, I'm from St. Louis. There's no industry in St. Louis. I would not be here today with a career. I can say that I have a career doing what I love, and that makes me feel really, really grateful. I would not be here if it, were not for me taking advantage of the connections that I had while I was here. And it wasn't even just like a active thing. Like I got a network. It's like, hustle, work hard. The people that are in your class are going to hear the questions that you ask. They're going to like know who you are. It's like you guys all know each other. The people who are hustling are going to naturally gravitate towards each other. A bunch of you guys are going to end up in the industry. Some of you guys are going to end up with jobs right out of college in the industry and are going to be like crushing it. And you're going to have friends that you really care about and who you know are hustlers too. And as soon as you hear about an opportunity pop up, you're going to call that friend, So
I was literally just about to say, and I'm so happy you just did that whole like kind of rant. It's like, if you want to go in on this a little bit about networking.
I will rant all day long about that.
I will too, about especially that topic, because there are, like, exactly to your point, and you guys are all my peers. I know a lot of you. And so there are the people that I see that grind and hustle. And, but then I see the people that kind of just also like look around and how empty Forum is today. I love the whole quiz idea, but people skip a lot. So if you're not taking advantage of these opportunities while you're here, while you're paying for this, sorry, a little bit of a rant, but what are you doing? Also, if you're not coming up here and talking to people after forums that really impress you, again.
And like, I'm not trying to drag anybody. Everybody's in a different situation in their life. Everybody like ages at a different time. Everyone's priorities are different at any given time in your life. But I hope that everyone's aware that you do have a lot of opportunities in front of you. And I also had a lot of friends who that didn't click till senior year for them. Or some of them, it was after they graduated, it didn't quite click. And I was worried for them that they would feel like it was like a waste of time or money or something like that. Like, if you really want it, you're gonna make it happen. But you really, 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 really gotta want it. You gotta want it really bad.
So I think this is a good segue into the next question I have. And then if we want to circle back around to some of the things that we were talking about, we can. But I want to talk to you about, you and I personally have talked a lot about mental health. And like you were just saying, everybody has their own time in life where they go after things. So I thought it was a good way to bring it up. What I've noticed in music is your personal life and your professional life are very interwoven. But that gets really hard because you sometimes have to be, especially as a manager, your phone has to be on loud at 2 in the morning. And you can get a call, especially James lives in LA. He's 2 hours
My phone's on
earlier.
airplane mode right now. Don't tell anyone.
I will never. I won't out you. Actually, I'll text James right after this. No, but how do you go about balancing that? I know it's been hard because we've talked about it.
It's different for everyone. It depends on your personal comfort level. It depends on your ability to handle stressful situations. It depends on your ability to be like cool. Like I don't mean like be cool. I mean like just like chill sometimes and like not be like, a fanboy and stuff. But there's a lot of questions to that, It makes me think back to a lot of the situations that I saw all over the years, I mean, using G is a great example. I'm fortunate enough to be able to work with somebody who I have a lot of respect for and I think has worked really, really hard to get where they are. I've had the opportunity to benefit from that relationship, which is awesome. But I've also seen a lot of people starting really, really early who, for one reason or another, like ego-related issues or otherwise either wanted to beef with him or like, would work with them for a little while and then like assume that they were responsible for the success or something like that. And, I think when you combine this industry, which is, you have artists and you have egos and like all those things are great. Like you're not going to have the music industry without artists and egos. But you start throwing a lot of other things in, like people who are at various levels of their like emotional development. And we all want to pretend like we're, adults and we can like function in this crazy industry, but it's insane. And sometimes it's really hard. And there's drugs and there's like sex and there's just totally, it's hard to put into words exactly, the amount of times that I've been put into questionable situations. And I've made bad decisions before. Like I'm no saint, it's like, and to ask when you draw that line, it's different for everybody. Some people can't handle it, and it's especially tough to see in New Orleans because there's a lot of kids that I know from, my music industry program who are hooked on drugs or who paid for 4 years of education and just, spent the whole time drinking or partying or whatever and are still, nothing wrong working in the service industry, but are doing something that they didn't think that they would be doing. It's tough and it requires a lot of thought.
So one of the big things that I've always wanted to compliment you on, now we have an audience for it, which is great. One of the big things I've also learned is I think you have to be so genuine. And you are one of the people, like from the second I met you, you were never like, and this also goes back to something you said earlier of not always being like, oh, I have to network, It's, you have to be hustling and you have to be grinding, but you also have to be very genuine when you're doing it. You have to want to do it. You have to want to succeed. And I think you still have to keep that whole mentality of not being like, oh, well, I have to go talk to this guy because he knows g-eazy, or I have to like get in with this circle because like they do this. It's like maybe use that as a motivation.
Sometimes that's cool. Like sometimes if you like if you're a hustler and you want to be a manager or you want to be an agent or something like that, and like I mean, when I was in college, I remember strategically there being certain situations where I got to meet certain people and I had to think very strategically about how I was going to play it. Like it's okay to be like motivated in ways that you'd consider like nefarious or something like that. But yeah, I mean, you got to figure out how to like kind of play it like a little bit more cool. But to being genuine, it's true. If you were an artist and you can work your butt off with marketing and spend time on YouTube and get all your Twitter followers and Instagram and stuff like that, but if your music sucks at the end of the day and it's not genuine, you're probably not going to succeed. And then even if you do, you're probably going to be so unprepared for being put in that like viral hit situation that the industry is going to eat you alive anyway. If you are genuine, like your work is like mostly done for you already. If you're like a genuine, incredible artist with, let's just say you're a piano player who sings, and you just write music that's really, really good, and every time you play it, people can hear in your performance that this person's really feeling something. you're probably going to connect with people 100 times more easily than a person who has just been listening to all the pop hits out there and goes, how can I recreate this hit? How can I recreate this hit? Like, if you're genuine, people will connect with that. If in the business sense, even if you're hustling really hard, if people can still sense that you were just a genuine person, like you want to be in this industry because it's fun and it's cool and it's what you want to do, then great. Like, I want everybody, people who have succeeded want other people to succeed.
Exactly. And I don't think he's here. Is Billy O'Connell here? No? Okay, well, everybody, I'm sure, because he's brought this up in his class, he wants to create this class at Loyola about how to just be cool. It's like, it's so important. It's like, in so many people, I know, so many people, like, it seems like it should be so easy. And I mean, I have started realizing at this point. It is so hard to find just cool, chill people.
Have you figured it out? Have you figured out how to be cool yet?
I can't answer that because that then makes me sound like I have a lot of ego. But I am up here interviewing you, and this is the first time I've ever seen a student interview a guy, so subtle flex, but I feel like I am somewhat doing well. Thank you. So that is why I want to comment on that. And I have learned a lot from you over the years about this. So thank you.
Hope so.
Okay, so new talk. Is there anything that you want to bring up first of all?
I mean, like, honestly, like, I've told you this before. I love coming to Loyola. Like, I've talked to classes before, and I think I've done this once or twice. I really, really do like coming here and, like, talking to you guys because, like, I mean, yeah, it was 10 years ago, but I still remember exactly what it feels like to be in these seats and to be at, like, different stages of, my development and to be asking just so many questions and like looking for confirmation that everything was going to like work out to my plan or something like that. And I really wish that I had somebody at that time that was just there to say, dude, just keep hustling, just keep working. You don't need to have the end point and goal. Just keep working, and eventually you're going to find your way onto this path. Yeah. You don't even have, like, just be moving in the general right direction. And as long as you keep doing it, as long as you work hard, people are going to notice that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
People notice hard workers.
Easily. One of the things that I have noticed the most, and that I have full-heartedly adopted, is the worst thing somebody can say is no. The worst thing somebody can say to you is no. So why not ask the question?
It's very true.
Ask if you can do something. Ask if you can help. Like,
yeah.
Worst thing they can say is no.
It makes me think of missed opportunities in my life,
Oh, yeah.
I think about that a lot. I think that when I was working and booking shows when I was in college, but I was also smoking a ton of weed and partying really hard and like wasting a ton of time is playing like
probably all of
a ton of video games. It's like, yeah, like when I say that I can relate, like not that much has changed. But the truth is I work a lot harder than I used to. And when I was in college, like I look back at my college self and I'm like, you were lazy. Like you were really lazy and you took for granted a lot of the opportunities that were given to you. You took advantage of a lot of them, but you also said no to a lot of those opportunities simply because you would rather just sat at home and play video games or something, or because you were tired, or because you didn't want to wake up early on a weekend, or because it was like during a break. Like there's so many excuses, and it's funny to think back on the things that I took for granted. It's like, yeah, I booked shows starting when I was young, but nobody gives a shit that I booked shows in high school now. It doesn't mean anything. And I think that there was a lot of other people who I saw taking those opportunities, and I was like, well, I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You guys are just going to this internship, but it doesn't seem like what you're passionate about. And what I didn't realize was that those people were fortunate because they had this like fire lit under their ass that said, go find your passion. You might not know what it is, but I'm passionate about finding my passion. They went out and did one internship after another. They said they stayed late. They like getting to their internship, they don't look at it as an obligation. It's an opportunity. You go there and you get to learn from these people, and then if at the end of 6 months you go do this internship and they tell you, sorry, we won't have a job for you, you go, thank you so much. This was an incredible opportunity. I learned so much. Let's stay in touch. How about maybe in like 6 months or so, I send you an email and say, hey, I would love to come stop by the office and see what's going on. I would love to come have coffee sometime and tell you about what I've been working on, and I'd love to hear what you've been working on. That's how people get jobs. It's like that's how people find careers.
Coffee meetings in New Orleans are the move. Always. Always do that. So.
Or drinks.
Or drinks.
Works too.
Or drinks. Maybe coffee first, that potentially leads to drinks. Anyway, so to put a cap in that whole thing, I thought that was a whole great conversation. If you guys, very random piece of information, if you have not read the book The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, it's very short. It will, if you actually adopt what it tells you, it will change your life. It has drastically changed mine. Read it.
Send me that, I'm curious.
Okay. So it basically talks about how there are 4 agreements in life, and obviously it's really bad that I'm not going to remember exactly what they are after I just gave that whole spiel, but basically it's 1, don't take things personally. 2, always be true to your word. 3, there was one of don't judge somebody because you don't know what's going on in their head, and the other one was like always be present, be aware, be there. And so when you combine the 4 of those every day in your life, you can't be sad. Nothing also will ever bother you. Like that also cliche saying of if it won't matter. I look forward to
never being bothered by anything.
Oh my God.
Sounds nice.
Like the other kind of cliche saying of if it won't matter in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes worrying about it. I haven't been upset. I haven't been consumed by something that has upset me in about 6 months now. And it's been great. So 4 Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz. It's so short. Just go read it. So question, how are we looking on time? Okay. All right.
I actually have questions for people here. I'm just curious. I hit up Tristan about this week, but speaking of forum for a lot of people is kind of two-sided. It's beneficial sometimes to the people who are here listening, but it's also beneficial for me because I like to know what's going on and who's working and doing cool shit.
I'm not gonna lie. See boy in the hat right there? That's my buddy Luther, who I told you about.
Luther, come say what's up afterwards. Curious to know what you're working on.
Sorry, very straightforward, but
I thought it'd be kind of, we could just even have, I would love to have conversations with people. I would love to hear some of the project. Is anybody in here just working on something really cool right now?
I love it. I love it. Yes, this is great. I love how many hands
Y'all get to watch me
because
try
I don't
to run
even know these
around.
things.
I feel like Phil would.
Hello?
I don't.
Yeah, okay. We're working on an EP right now. We're on our 4th out of 5 songs. Yeah, I'm trying to get it done and get it out by around Thanksgiving.
What's your name?
Miles.
And I'm Owen. Yeah, just
Are you guys a folk band?
No, we're we are rappers,
chills.
artists, singers, rappers. He does productions as well. So we're working to get that out hopefully in November on all streaming services.
Cool. What year are you guys here? Awesome.
Yeah.
Did you guys meet here?
We're actually from the same area.
So
We met here, but we're from neighboring towns.
Oh, you're kidding. Where are you guys from?
Connecticut.
Ah, cool. My old roommate's from West Hartford.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Dope.
spent a little time up there. So you guys just met here at Loyola. You guys are freshmen, and you're working on dropping your first EP.
Yes, sir.
Have you guys put out any music yet? Have you guys played any shows yet?
Not since we've been
Cool.
here.
So this is brand new for you guys. So let's all right, you're going to do the EP, you're going to record it, you're going to put it out, and then what?
Marketing, networking. First step is get up on this forum stage and say, hey guys, listen to our EP.
Cool. I like that.
And then,
In 30 seconds or less.
Yeah, in 30 seconds or less.
So you guys are lucky because you have a captive audience of, a couple hundred people who right off the bat are going to listen to your music. And then then you stand the risk of annoying them if you make the announcement over and over and over again. So you're lucky because you can get to these people really quickly. And hopefully if you guys are cool and they like you and your music's good, you'll make some fans right off the bat. But then you got to ask the question, well, shit, like, how do I get outside of like the Loyola music community? Have you guys thought about like playing shows or like local venues, or are you guys networking with like other producers or rappers?
We haven't thought about that yet, since we're still in the making of like the art and everything. But once we have like everything down, like all 5 songs, we're gonna start doing like music videos, and then hopefully start trying to find places to perform at, and then more networking, social media.
So have you guys thought about music videos yet? Just out of curiosity.
Not yet. Not.
So music videos is fun because I think that is one of the biggest opportunities to make like a huge splash with very little money and also with very little like following. But I think that people like take themselves too seriously sometimes, and they're afraid to do something like, especially if they're in rap, you know, they're afraid of getting laughed at. But I think there's like opportunities to do really funny, crazy music videos. Like, you guys like fans of DaBaby?
Yeah.
Like his, I mean, his videos are awesome. And like right up, firstly, he's like, I mean, I think DaBaby is the best rapper of the year. I know it's a wide thing to say, but I'm a really big fan of DaBaby. And I think he's putting out really cool content right now. I think people connect with him. I think he's making cool content. I feel like he's pretty genuine for what it is, even though he's a rapper, you know, doing like crazy, outrageous shit. Like, people still connect with it. But man, videos, that's a huge missed opportunity for a lot of people. So what's your timeline look like?
Probably Thanksgiving. We're gonna try to put it out then, and then. I mean, we really have one more song to finish. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, that's my bad. We have like one more song to finish, and the rest is just mixing, mastering, and putting it out.
How quickly can you get a video? Could you get a video done while you're doing the other shit?
Maybe, yeah.
We're working. We're a part of like a recently developed budding music collective. So we're talking really closely with one of our buddies. Is a film major, and he's talked to us, not really in depth, but we've thrown out ideas of like, oh, we want to work together. We just haven't had anything concrete yet.
Which collective is this?
It's called Reloaded.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's not really anything structured yet. We're sort of figuring out everything, getting like a set group of people, and like figuring out what everyone can do, promoting each other on social media and stuff like that. But we're like, we know graphic designers, we know marketers. In their class with Billy O'Connell, they have to market an artist. They have a team, and they like work with an artist, and I am that artist for those two. And then
okay, awesome. So you guys have like this little like infrastructure for a lot of the kind of the technical things that would surround an artist's career, but you guys still are the ones who are making the music. And you guys so you got the music thing down. You guys are working on that, but like the concepts for the art and the concepts for the video, that's where you guys I think are going to be really, really challenged. And I think that's something that you guys are going to have to think really hard about. Is anybody can drop an EP, but can you guys really be creative enough to do something really cool that fits with your brand and connects with people? It doesn't have to be funny. It could be serious. But how can you do something really different? And then here's the kicker. How can you do it for free? Like, how can you get all of your friends to work for you for free? You know, the industry might, you know, I don't know what they teach these days in music industry studies. Sometimes they say don't work for free, but I disagree. I think you should work for free all the time.
Sometimes. I have something I would love to add into real quick. 2 things. First of all, I gotta say, every year since I've been here, and I'm a senior this year, there's always a group of freshmen that come in and just kill it and start like this freshman collective. And I'm props to you guys. That's awesome. Second of all, you might know, I can't remember the name of it. There is a merch company in town that recently started. They're working with revivalists. It's called like Nouvelle. Do you know?
Oh, we were talking about them at lunch.
We were talking about it at lunch.
Is that who's running that company?
Yeah, I know.
Is it Nigel Rafferty?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, there's this new company in New Orleans who makes amazing shirts and hats and everything, and it's all through online. And basically, what they do is you give them, it's a set price for like every shirt or whatever you get of like $5, and they have their own printing thing and they have their own merch. So basically what they do is you order like a number, they make all of your merch for you. Also, their shirts are like nice, they look great. And and then they'll send them out to you. They'll work on your like website for you, shipping. They can also help you develop like your brand and your image too, like in your logo. So I will figure out the name of this company and have Jeff send it out. But for a lot of you guys in here who are doing merch, it's also very cheap. Some of their price points are so workable. So yeah,
That's cool. I need t-shirts. Since I have the microphone, I'm going to ask a question before you go to the next thing. You were talking about video, and I know you've done some digital marketing stuff. I advised a thesis last year where he analyzed a bunch of social media data and found that video content had higher engagement across like every platform. Is that your experience? Do you have things to add to that?
I mean, there's some really measurable things out there. I don't know. Is anybody here like a Gary V follower? Gary Vaynerchuk?
Yes.
Yeah. So like he's this entrepreneur guy that's got started in wine, but he's got a huge social media following, and he
Get on the wave if you're not on it, by the way.
It's cool. It's a lot of practical stuff. And he recently was like, look, this is how I create content and make it more engaging. Firstly, like everything is videotaped. Everybody wants to look at something. It's just more like it catches you easily. Plus, if you make a music video, firstly, make a really good music video. Secondly, you can cut it into a trailer, and you can cut it into 5-second clips, and you can cut it into Instagram stories, and you can cut it into little teasers, and like you can do a premiere with it. It's hard to create as many pieces of media as you can with a full-length video.
Is this an app? Like
An
this,
app?
This like cutter?
No.
This?
God, oh my God, I wish it was an app.
It needs to be an app.
It needs to, but that's a big part of what I do at G. I mean, when we have a music video that comes out for G, I get sent a music video file, and I have an animator / editor dude, and he cuts up 1-minute clips for every one of the featured artists on the songs, and then he cuts up 15-second back-to-back Instagram stories. And then he does a version of it that has text that says swipe up, and he has a version without it because only people with 10,000 followers can do that. And it gets sent to all the different artist teams, and they all get sent a schedule with a smart URL of exactly what time the song comes out and on what platforms. They all get sent different tracking links. It's this kind of like big, huge pain in the ass thing, and like it doesn't even scale. It's the same thing for you guys. When you guys put out a music video, I can't tell you how many people screw this up. They put it on YouTube, and then they tweet out a link on Facebook to the YouTube video, and you have to they put out a video, and the first thing, they don't even post the video, they post a link to the video. Like the piece of content that they just posted on their social media is not the video, it's a link. So just put a 1-minute clip on there, engage with people instantly, like make it undeniable. Put it on your Instagram story. You have no reason not to cut, every single piece of content that you make, duplicate it onto your Instagram story. There's just no reason. I'm not saying for your individual accounts, but if you have a brand that you're running. But yeah, I mean, video, you don't have an excuse. It's hard, but that's another reason why you stand out, because if you can make outstanding video content, other people because it's hard, other people don't do it.
I would love to comment something on that too. Instagram is such a tool, social media in general, but Instagram right now, I really think if you are an artist and you are developing your brand, especially starting out, because that's how people will like give you more respect, is have that shit look amazing. Have it represent you and your brand very well. At least that's my opinion.
But also, make sure that your music doesn't suck, because
That's true.
if you guys
That's true.
if you spend all this time like putting out music that's horrible, I will personally shame you. I don't think that there's any excuse with the tools that we have not to be like a professional level, like anything, like mixer, engineer, producer. Like you have YouTube tutorials to watch. That's all I watch YouTube tutorials for everything. I learned how to install one of those like Ring video doorbells, and I have not done it yet, but I'm going to, and I'm going to use that tutorial to learn how. Like in my free time as a hobby, I make music, and everything I never took like I took all industry classes at Loyola, and everything else I learned about music and how like production and everything works, I learned on YouTube. So video, it's the same thing. Yeah, it's a little bit harder, but the tools are in front of you guys. Like you just do not have an excuse not to like bring your A game. And like maybe you don't live in LA, maybe you don't have a friend with like $1 million studio or something like that, but like I'll go back to DaBaby. If he's releasing #1 albums with songs that he recorded in a hotel room, you have no excuse.
And also, tying in both points, you said like you don't live in it, doesn't matter with LA or wherever you're at. With the whole social media wave, you can, and just phones in general, you can connect with somebody anywhere, and you can make like a great contact anywhere. And if your social media page is like this, I could talk for forever about some of the things that have been happening to me recently, but basically, like, if your social media page is great and you want to connect with somebody and they follow you and they see that you look professional, they're gonna get back to you. They're gonna follow up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Have a professional presence. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. Like, find something that fits with your brand, you know? Like, be real. But it's not, this industry is not rocket science. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of developing, your concepts of what you do. It's a lot of revising over and over and over again. It's a lot of stuff with timing. It's a lot of just hammering away at it.
Basically, this class with that Billy wants to make, you should teach, is where I'm getting at. The Be Cool class.
I like the Dan quizzing people who are doing creative things. Well, pick somebody. I'll let you pick.
Well, up there in the corner.
Yes.
You just wanted to watch me
Great.
run
I
up the
love
stairs, didn't you?
You had a good announcement earlier too.
Hi, my name's Beth. I'm a DJ under the name Lady Lavender, and I just formed a collective with 4 of my closest DJ friends. None of them are students; they're actually all older. I'm the baby of the group, and it's called For the Record. And we formed this collective in an effort to throw shows with higher standards and with a good moral code, because unfortunately in the underground dance scene in New Orleans, there's a lot of poor mental health, a lot of drug use, like we were talking about before, in the music industry in general. A lot
Poor
of those
boys, what's up?
Yeah, literally. So trying to be professional in those environments is really difficult, and there's a lot of setbacks. So we formed this collective as a way to kind of counteract that in our scene.
Do you know Musa?
No.
DJ Musa?
No.
Let me connect you guys, because
Perfect.
that's funny that you mentioned that. She's like one of the only other people that I know in the local scene that has that similar of a vision, from what it sounds like, to like the idea of like wellness as it relates to like the local scene.
Yeah.
But go on.
Who else? Who else is in the collective?
So it's Austin, who goes by Edgar Allan Poe Boy. It's Sam, who goes by Virtue Signal. It is Jimena, who actually went to Loyola a few years ago. She didn't graduate. She goes by Nature Morte. And then Gabe goes by DJ Airbag. Don't ask. So yeah, none of them are Loyola related. We all became close except for Jimena. We all became close over the summer and kind of all had a similar vision, and we just kept having practice sessions together and just talking at events and gigs together, and we all just had this same vision. So I guess my question is to you, we're building this in New Orleans, we want this to grow. Do you have any advice on how to get national attention in New Orleans? That's something that I've been talking about with a lot of other DJs in the scene, and not just dance music, with hip hop and all the DJs that play in New Orleans. How do we get national attention? Because there's so many great weekly events, monthly events that just don't have good attendance.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really great question, and something that I used to deal with the local event that I threw here.
Right.
We felt, I think, that at the time that we had something special, and that the music was a little bit different from what everybody was playing, and that we were like curating a pretty fun experience for people. And we actually did. I mean, we did it in Baton Rouge a couple times. We did it in all places, Columbia, Missouri once, because Mizzou is up there, and we had, it was like a college party, and I'm from St. Louis and had connections up there. And I learned so much just from those two little differences. I think there's a lot of things that you have to ask yourself. Firstly, there are other touring DJ events. For one example would be like, are you familiar with Emo Night?
Yeah.
So Emo Night is a touring one. They're an example of one where it's almost like this turnkey operation, where you can take it to a city where it's never been before and nobody's doing that event. And if you can get it into the right venue with a promoter who has a big enough reach, they can just put it on sale and it's going to sell tickets. What you guys have is something on a separate side where you're trying to create a unique brand that's the value is built on the experience. It sounds like a big part of what you guys need to start out with is really quality multimedia. Where do you guys throw your parties?
So we're actually in New Orleans and in Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge, undisclosed location. It's kind of an illegal warehouse.
Okay.
So we've been doing some ravey stuff in Baton Rouge. But in New Orleans, we're like club circuit. So Santos, Poor Boys, The Drifter, Britannia Bar.
And have the turnouts been good?
It depends. It's so hit or miss.
Do you have anything like that in the next couple of months it's going to do well? Like, do you have one event that you feel like is going to be better than the others?
We have an event after Crew of Boo. That's going to be at the Goat, which is like been kind of transformed. It used to be like a really weird kind of devilish bar, but it's been transformed into a space for DJs and bands. So that event there, we think is going to do well because Crew of Boo is a huge night in New Orleans in general, and everyone's kind of in that area. But we're really trying to expand on, we have monthly parties. So we have the Baton Rouge one, and we have one in New Orleans. So we're really trying to expand on those because those events will just be the founding DJs plus one guest DJ every time.
Okay, so let's say that Lafayette was a target market for you guys to go into. Or let's say that it was a market like Atlanta, who's far enough away that you don't necessarily have like a street team of people who are back and forth between Baton Rouge or locals. Let's say you're trying to go into a brand new market. If you could put together like a tiny little pitch to send to a, say, 200, like a hi-ho lounge in Atlanta, who you knew had like kind of a little bit of a built-in market and was probably looking to fill in a night or something like that. If you could send them one video and like a one-sentence description of what your party is to try and sell it, like how would you describe it?
Honestly, I don't think that we're quite there yet because we really just need to get more experience with our monthly events because I think over the summer, we were all building our own individual names as DJs and developing our own sounds. But now that we're all consistently gigging and have different residencies, we're not reliant on larger names to have on our events. We want to keep it to the 5 DJs, like have us be the focus, not selfishly, but because this is our collective, and then kind of bring in one guest DJ every time to get more people there.
So it almost sounds a little bit like a selection type of thing.
Exactly.
You've got like your little collective and stuff.
Exactly.
If you're not at the point yet where you like know when you're gonna have a party that crushes or think about taking it somewhere else, then what are things that you've thought about to take like the party locally to the next level? Like, how have you been promoting it?
Promoting it just through social media and word of mouth. A lot of word of mouth. Unfortunately, our scene is really small, but I think that it's growing.
I would say. You may think your scene is small, but
huge.
I think that you would be very, very surprised to find not just your scene, but anybody's scenes that like just because somebody else is not doing it, it's not there. Like I would look at that more as an opportunity than to say that the scene's not there.
Right.
Also,
I mean,
to say, sorry, don't mean to interrupt,
ahead.
but I don't know if you've really been to Republic / anything Freewater related. The Freewater block party did great. Also, Republic has been doing amazing with their DJ scene recently. So I think, which is kind of going to your point that you want like a healthier vibe, because not to bash on Republic, but it's a little
like a drug-fueled dubstep nightmare.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like 16-year-olds on Molly shit.
100%. So I think there is a total market in New Orleans that actually needs to be matured, like mentally matured. So
But on that, like these conversations are great. I'm curious what you're doing. I'd love to hear a little bit more about it. And there might be other people in the scene that I think would be good to have some conversations. I think right there, having great conversations with like-minded people and trying to figure out who else has a similar mindset is a great start for sure. And I'm happy to try and help if I can.
Thank you. I'll talk to you after forum.
what are we looking at for time?
Maybe we got one more question.
Okay.
Well, I nodded at the girl behind him, so we're going
I
to do
did,
two.
yeah.
Y'all go fast. Gabe, you go first. Talk fast.
Hi. I'm a singer-songwriter, and last year I put out my first project that was kind of a collection of the things I've been doing in high school. What I found from it was that initially it had not moderate success with people I knew and the people they knew, and but very quickly it died down. There wasn't as many streams. Within a month and a half, it had pretty much fizzled out. So now, coming here, I'm starting to work on my second project. I'd say I got about 4 or 5 tracks that are finished, and I'm looking to expand and create a project that's, well, twice the size of it, and but also in terms of recording, definitely more layered, better mixed. Involve as many more people as I can doing that. The problem I have is a lot of it is just I'm doing it. You know what I mean? It's just me trying to market, write, record, and I think the trouble I'm having is I'm not sure how to start booking gigs. I'm really not sure how to start talking to people about.
Yeah, it sounds like
shows
you're
together.
you're at that point. You feel like you have something, but you're trying to figure out how to get it off the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's I know that feeling. I know how it feels to feel like you have like this piece of creativity that you put so much effort in, and then you're like, how do I launch this into the world? Well, it's great that you've started and you've already got some stuff out. I think a great way to look at your next project. When you said bigger, do you mean like a full album?
Yeah, the first project was 7 songs. It wasn't quite an EP, but it wasn't quite an album. It was professionally recorded, but I didn't have a huge budget, so it was had a basic mix to it. I was happy with how it sounds.
That's fine. You're at Loyola. You can find somebody to do it for cheap or free, or you can learn how to do it yourself. So that problem has answered itself. For releasing it, I would suggest this. Instead of thinking of necessarily a bigger album, still be working and making all that music, but maybe think about putting out a single or two. Maybe think about taking a step back and then taking that single, which is just like, it's like a small bite, and think,
Right.
How can I market this single before I market a big album? And it's not just posting a song and saying it's up for streaming. It's figuring out a couple different ways. So let's say that it's a week before the song comes out, and you post a photo of the track art on your Instagram page, and you send it via text to a couple of your close friends. You don't have to spam people, but just let anybody who cares know. You're like, hey, just a heads up, putting out this song in a couple days. If you want to spread the word, or just keep an eye out. It's going to come up, or if you don't mind sharing it once it comes out, that'd be great.
Yeah.
4 days before the song comes out, you post on your Instagram story. You get on there, hey guys, what's up? Just a reminder, 4 days till my new song comes out. Here you can hear like a little snippet of it playing in the background. Here's just a preview. 2 days before the song comes out, you get on, and I keep bringing up Instagram Live. I think that you should also be doing this stuff in person, like walking around campus and like in class. Like if you have a class that lets you make an announcement, it doesn't mean anything. Like, just a heads up, guys, my new song's out today. Hop on my Facebook page. It's, you can go listen to it over there.
Can I say one thing? Just to add, so because social media is so big, going to what you said, that still does not beat a face-to-face, in-person, real interaction ever. It doesn't replace it. It's like an added.
But I would hope I hope it goes without being said that you're stoked enough about your new music coming out that like when you guys drop this new project, like everybody in every class is going to hear about it, and everybody in this, at least in this world, is going to hear about it from word of mouth. But then you brought up the idea of after the song comes out, and like you felt like things fizzled out. 3 days after the song, that's when you announce that you're going to play a show. You announce that you got a show coming up in 2 weeks, and you're really excited to share some of the music you played. And on top of that, you've picked up this new drum machine sequencer thing, and you're going to be debuting your new like live show, which is going to feature you with like something else. It's not just going to be you solo. You're doing something new. You're building, and then you go play that show, and you make an announcement from the stage. Be like, oh, just stoked that you guys came out of the show. By the way, hit me up afterwards, or go sign up for my email list. I have a piece of paper over there, or you can write text list these days. Write down your text, and I will send you my new music video, which comes out in 2 weeks, a week early. Just figure out, it's almost like how can you, every one of those little interactions that you can create, how can you build off of it?
Right.
But that's not just you. A lot of people have that problem. They put out the project and they feel like it fizzles out. That's when you got to start building those little one-to-one connections. And I think really like, they call it, it's like working the song basically.
Right.
But send me some music when it comes out. Love to hear it.
Sure, sounds good.
So would also like to say one more thing before we take our last question. Because I know everybody just gets up and leaves right after forum is done. So if you would like to give out your email or your whatever it may be, if you
Home
guys want
address,
to take it down.
phone number.
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram.
Everything.
My name it's my name. It's Dan Helfers. HELFERS at Dan Helfers. Just shoot me a DM. I would like any of you guys that are like hustling and doing cool shit, like your guys' project, like your new music, like the DJ stuff you're working on. Please just shoot me stuff you guys are working on. I'd love to hear it. Like I said, this is a double-sided thing. Like I like to hear what you guys are doing so that I can like stay like hip.
Right,
So,
and we've got
me.
one more.
Hi, I'm Siobhan. I'm a freshman. So I'm doing this cool experimental jazz classical piece. It's Forays à Présent Rêve. It's a cello solo. I play the cello. I also do vocal and stuff, which comes into my later thing. But we are playing, it's the Loyola Strings concert, November 1st at 7:30 if you want to come hear the cool piece. But so I'm doing that, but I'm also going to release my first single, hopefully after fall break. And I have absolutely I have not really a following with music because I do majority classical stuff, but I'm trying to get more involved in the pop world by mixing in my cello experience. So I don't really know where to start.
Well, firstly, I think that's super cool. So is the original music, it's you singing with cello incorporated? Is there other elements too, or it's just that?
Well, my big goal is like when I perform, I'd love to be playing the cello as I sing.
At Lindsay Sterling.
No, not at all. I'm so
different.
sorry. I am not a big Lindsay Sterling.
Okay.
You know, it's
That's
funny.
fair, that's fair, but same
as it does, I'm sure,
concept.
for everyone, it popped into my head for a moment. And I was like, I'm not going to mention that. But Tristan went ahead and did it for
I
me.
had
So.
to. So even if you don't like her, but she's still somebody to model your idea after.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
So kind of similarly, you feel like you've got this project and you're
Yeah.
kind of at this like jump off point. You don't quite
Yeah.
know where to go with it.
Yeah.
It sounds like the first problem that you're having is that you're having a hard time finding even like a community of like-minded people. The internet is a good place to turn in situations like that. I wonder if like the deepest, darkest place of like a Reddit has a community of like-minded people who are classically trained musicians who play cello but also have an interest in pop vocals. I think that it shouldn't stop you in any way. I think that you should put out the music, even if you can't figure out a whole fleshed out plan. It's like one of the beautiful things about being early in your career is you can screw up over and over and over again and no one's gonna care. Like you can keep screwing up until something really takes off, and it's not until then that people even care, like judge you for screwing up. Go out there and put out a song. Share it on your Facebook and say that. Say what you just told me honestly. Say in your status on there, be like, I'm a classically trained musician and I really wanted to make this music that's different. And honestly, like, I'm not sure who the audience is for it or if there's any like-minded people out, but here it is. I just want to release this thing in the world. I hope you guys like it.
Okay.
And I have a feeling that if you do that a handful of people in here will hear it, and maybe one person will hear it that'll be like, hey, you know what? That's really cool. I make stuff that I feel like doesn't quite fit into a genre either, and maybe that person's going to like collaborate with you. Or maybe that person becomes your biggest cheerleader, or maybe that person that becomes a person who wants to manage you or says, oh, I actually think that you would be really cool on this like alternative ensemble show that's going on, and it would be an opportunity to perform live. I wish I could give you the shortcut to saying put out the song, get 10 million streams, but I think that you've got like a lot of really cool steps that you can make right now, and I think as long as you're like taking steps, I don't even think there's like a wrong turn you can make right now, but put that music out.
So, and two more things. Sorry. Also, can we give it up for Dan? He's been
Thank you, Dan.
fantastic.
Thank you, Tristan. If you want to talk to
Thank you.
Dan, he'll hang for a minute.